Hey everybody, it's September 19th, 2022. We're going to take a look at Bitcoin's action. First off, let's see what I said on Friday. So it had unfortunately pulled back a little bit further than was ideal from last Monday's update. I was expecting a pullback, but it did go deeper as of Friday. So I said at the moment I can't say that it had stayed consistent with that primary scenario I had, and so we had a plethora of options of what comes next. And these are the four main ones I have here. So let's just go over those quickly. Orange scenario was essentially a expanded flat correction before going higher. Yellow scenario would have been a corrected bounce up a little bit higher than where we were and then down, which we did not get. Blue scenario was just a continue of the dumping with no major bounce, and this, for me right now, this is where I think we are. Number 4, the bottom's already in. Obviously that did not occur either. So I think that blue scenario is one. So let me just go over those on the chart again here, and we'll go from there. So first off, what I was basing my leverage long on was the fact that we have 5 waves up here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have a pullback into the correct zone here, and then we had what looked like another 5-wave move here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like so. And so if we'd pulled back to that 20 to 21 area and then gone up, that would have been ideal. But as we broke below 18.9, we invalidated that. And then, of course, we actually pulled back to a lower low. This low that we had here over the weekend is lower than this one. And so essentially this 5-wave move is canceled out. And I guess, it's not actually a 5-wave move, even though it did look like it at the time. So anyway, that's, that happens. That's why you have stop losses and risk management, right? So real quick here, let me just go over what this yellow fib is here. So I had from the top here to here drawn a fib extension, and then I've got this green box here between the 618 and the 1236 for this to potentially be an A, B, C downwards. And so we are looking at that in either the blue or the yellow scenarios. But like I said, I think blue is what actually played out. So let me delete this just for clarity, so I've got less stuff on here. Let me delete this for now. Okay, just to explain some things here and start cleaning this chart up. I did think that breaking below this level, potentially would have put us into a more dangerous scenario. That's why I've got this danger here, and potentially still could turn into a dangerous scenario. We're not out of the woods for sure. So yellow, we would have expected from around this area a move up into this red box before breaking down below that 18.9 level and heading down further. That would have then given us a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. In the best case, getting us down here to like 16K, which is real close to my 15.7 line in the sand for the bull market to simply be over. So I honestly didn't want to see that scenario play out, and I don't believe we are seeing it play out because of the fact that we didn't get to this red box, and the fact that we didn't push down all the way to here before bouncing. This bounce doesn't really line up with what I would expect from that. So I'm going to delete those yellow arrows there, start taking some stuff off. Orange is what I was hoping would happen, and I gave it the benefit of the doubt because we had these 5 waves up. I was thinking we might get an A, B, C flat correction like that and then go up in orange. Of course, breaking down below 18.9 and the prior low eradicates that as a possibility as well, so we're going to get rid of that. And then I had mentioned on here that the blue scenario was basically if we just see continued dumping without any major bounce, that it would very likely just exhaust the bears, and this can be considered all of the C wave down, or even possibly like a WXY where this is 3 waves down instead of 5, that'd be fine. So I think that's probably what we're dealing with. I can't guarantee the low is in already quite yet, but it could be. And so I'll go down to the micro and show you what the bulls need to do to prove the bottom is already in with just this slightly lower low. We just broke below this low slightly, did some stop loss hunting there, and it is possible that we go up from this region. The other thing we need to consider, let me just get rid of that blue there now. Let me get rid of this, and we'll get rid of that. All right, so the other thing we need to consider though is if we draw a fib from the bottom here, which is like right there up to the top. Let me just make sure I'm on the right levels here. Zoom in a little bit. That needs to come down a little further. That's the bottom there. All right, and up at the top. Just tighten this up, make sure my fib levels are correct. Okay. 886 is typically your line in the sand to say that a 5-wave move has failed. It shouldn't retrace more than the 886, and you can see we spiked down below that. Okay, so that is something we need to consider. However, this has gotten down far enough potentially to be considered kind of like a double bottom, especially if it comes down just a hair further. If this fails and comes down a little lower, that's a double bottom then. But I don't know. I kind of feel like if it proves a bottom here, I'm not going to complain about it. That's far enough down. It's broken the 886 where I can kind of say, this is corrective action downwards. That's an ABC. It's gotten us into that green zone there. And if it can prove a bottom with a new 5-wave move up, then I don't have an issue with that. And if that's the case, the only reason I'm mentioning that is because if that's the case, this might not be our first wave. We may need to reevaluate and say, actually, the bottom, true bottom is here. And so we're going to look for a new 5-wave move up that'll actually serve as our first wave then off the bottom. More academic than anything, but it does affect where we are in the count a little bit. So anyway, we'll have to see if we have to deal with that or not. But I do still think there is a greater than zero chance that this breaks down and gives us a new low, and that would very clearly then invalidate all of this. If that gives us a new low below that 17.6 level, then clearly we can ignore all of that action, and we would have to wait then for a new move off of that low, hopefully to give us 5 waves up. Alternatively, if we break down below 15.7, as you know, that's my line in the sand, and I'm going to be looking to exit crypto completely on some sort of bounce after that, because that pretty much just destroys all hope of a new bull market starting anytime soon. So anyway, let's go down to the micro. And the trouble here is that I can't really count a clean 5 waves off the low. I think it's possible that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't think it really matches up with the fib levels though. Let's see. That does get, yeah, this 4th wave is pretty darn shallow, but that 5th wave does get us up high enough where we could potentially consider that a 5-wave move. So I'm going to need to see this, really play out a little bit more to trust it. But it is a possibility that we do have an initial 5-wave move. And because of that, I actually went long again earlier today. I went long right at about 19, I think it was 19,050. It was right in this area here when I saw that this was clearly a 3-wave move and we'd started coming back up. I longed at that point, And so I'm long again, break even stop on that though. If it starts breaking down to that level again, I don't trust it any longer. So what we need to see if this is in fact our initial 5-wave move, first test was to see it hold a 3-wave pullback, which it's done. That's fantastic. Next test is to see it do a first wave up within the third wave and then hold a corrective pullback. And that first wave typically goes to the 618, and you can see that's where we topped out, so that's looking good. And the second wave pullback typically holds around 19.3, around that 382, which is 19.340, and so far we are holding that level. Now that's not to say it can't break down. It could certainly break down from here. But if it can do that, if it can hold that level, we would then have another 1-2, and then we would need to see a strong push up. We should see the 1-2-3-6 next at 20,400. So basically, if we can stay above, 19, let's just call it 19.1 to be safe, to give it a little extra room. If we can hold above 19.1 and push up to about 20.4, that would be the next indication that this intends to go higher. Of course, it still has work to do because it would then need to hold another pullback, push up higher, hold another pullback, push up higher, and end result should be somewhere here north of 21. If it can do that, put all 5 waves into north of 21, then we have again a setup showing 5 waves off of the low, and would be another opportunity at that point to then long on the next pullback. So basically we're just waiting for this to see if it plays out. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and that would be within wave 3. So let me label the next higher degree then. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 is what we need to see on the next higher degree up. Something like that. Okay, so that's what we're looking for from the bulls. Bears, at this point, they have done the minimum for this to just be a 3-wave move. This could be a 3-wave move right here to the 618. It's the minimum requirement for a C wave. So that could be ABC and break down. So again, below about 19.1, that's very likely the case, and we'll head down lower. That's why I've got my break-even stop set. Spot positions, honestly, I'm still just kind of holding on to. I don't really plan on dumping them. That was always my thought when I jumped back in, was, if this kind of continues downwards, I just hold on. Oh well, I got in a little early. Doesn't really matter. It's still, a great risk-reward area to accumulate in here for spot buys, basically. But leverage, you definitely want to be more careful with. So let's see, bears. As far as indicators go, bears are certainly showing that this is potentially topping out. We've got PPO inching up there, RSI potentially nearing a topping out point. So the bulls have their work cut out for them, as I said. Now the real question is, how do we consider this if the bulls, or if the bears take over? What exactly are we looking at? And this makes it very difficult to say. I really cannot count a clear 5-wave move, and this looks more like 3 waves to me at this point. So I honestly cannot tell you. I guess we'd have to assume that 1, 2 is in here somewhere. That's 3, 4, 5. Like that would have to be an initial 5-wave move down. Just get rid of this for now. Always trying to figure out, what are the alternatives, so we know what to expect if they play out. I really don't think that's high enough even for a normal second wave. Let me see. If that's an initial 5 down. 19,800 would be the 382. You'd expect it to go at least to that, but it could be done now. If at any point this fails, this could be an initial 1 and 2, either here or maybe a little bit higher before it goes down. it's just something to keep an eye on, and that's why we need to see the bulls fully prove 5 waves before we can really be confident in this, because this could be a new 5-wave move down. And if that's the case, if it's already topped and this wants to go down in a new 5-wave move, this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, that would take us down to like 12.6. I don't view that as the highest probability at the time. Right now, I'm not seeing an indication of that, especially with how messy this decline has been. But it is something we need to watch. The other possibility, I suppose, is this is doing more of a 3-wave thing where this comes down. It could just get us into that kind of lower 16, lower 17, higher 16 area, and then still give us a move up. That's a possibility. So, the bears, even if they do start taking over, they've got plenty to prove as well, that we would actually be breaking down below that 15.7 area. So anyway, not super clear as far as the action goes right now. The bulls have a path. That's pretty much all I can say right now. They definitely have a clear path here that they can take. Whether or not they can do it is another story, and we will probably have an answer as to if they're on the right track or not, as early as tomorrow morning, because this will either have broken down or pushed up at that point, probably. I suppose it's possible it just continues sideways in a tight range, but likelihood is one of those scenarios is going to play out by the morning, 8, 9 hours from now, something like that. So I will check back in with all of you on Friday, and we'll see if Bitcoin has been able to do what it needs to do for the bulls, or if the bears have taken back over and we're headed down lower. So stay safe. Very treacherous area we're in right now for sure, and I will talk to you all on Friday.